Is it deja vu all over again in the tech and media industry? Hi, this is Sujeet Indap from Lex in New York. Joining me is Matt Garrahan, the global media editor.
Hi.
So 16 years ago, Time Warner entered into a transformative transaction with AOL. Media and tech were changing at the time. We're seeing something similar today in a story you reported. What's the story with Time Warner and Apple?
Well, that AOL Time Warner deal didn't go very well,
No,
as we all know. But things are slightly different now, and Apple, world's biggest company, I think has the world's biggest cash pile, is looking for ways to keep growing, and is taking an increasing interest in content, owning its own content, pushing it out through its own systems and propelling sales of its own devices.
Yeah, and so Apple is at a crossroads, right? They've had some challenging earnings releases recently. What's the challenge right now at Apple?
Well, iPhone sales are maturing. It doesn't have a hot new device in the pipeline, and the Apple Watch did okay, but not fantastically well. So they're looking, for other sources.
So they need to sell something else. So they're selling hardware, and now perhaps it's content. So which is where Time Warner comes in. Right. And so Time Warner itself is at a crossroads. So what's going on with them, and why would they perhaps be interested in entering into some kind of arrangement with Apple?
Well, Time Warner resisted Rupert Murdoch's overtures a couple of years ago. Turned down an $80 billion bid. Actually, a bid which would be worth a lot less now because so much of it was wrapped up in Fox stock.
Right.
But Time Warner is unlike most other media companies. Time Warner and Walt Disney don't have the obstacle of family control or a dual class structure.
Right.
So they'd be the most attractive. And coincidentally, I think Time Warner and Disney own the best content. So if you're a tech company looking to use exclusive content, and you think Time Warner owns HBO, it owns the Warner Brothers studio, so shows like Game of Thrones, big franchise at its studios, CNN, News Network, then it would be a good place to start.
And so Time Warner obviously is a $70 billion company, something like that, $60 billion, but pretty digestible for Apple, who's a $500 billion company. Yeah,
there'd be an issue with Apple taking its overseas cash back to US shores because it would obviously be heavily taxed.
Yeah.
But it could still afford to pull it off pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the main issue is, does it happen at all, and is Time Warner the eventual target? I mean, in our story we reported that Eddie Q, who's one of the senior Apple executives, runs the iTunes business, iCloud business, Siri, has oversight of Apple's entire internet services division. He raised the prospect of a bid for Time Warner at a meeting with the company at the end of last year. They haven't followed up, but they haven't ruled it out either. So either Time Warner could be the target, or it might be someone else, like Netflix, for example.
So give us your verdict. These are very different companies. Apple is the California tech hero. Time Warner is the New York big media company. Could this work if they came together? What is your sense, knowing these companies very well?
I wouldn't like to bet on it. I think you could imagine HBO in the hands of Apple and all the exclusive programming that it has being a pretty powerful driver of a video subscription service, were Apple to launch one that could compete with the likes of Netflix. I mean, Netflix is way ahead of it. Buying Netflix would be would get you to that point more quickly. But I just wonder if it happens at all, or whether they, do they acquire or do they invest themselves and build their own programming? And that's a trickier thing to do. As long as it's not easy, as anyone in Hollywood will tell you.
Yeah, interesting. Well, hopefully Time Warner does something, it'll go better than the last time.
Well, I hope so, yeah.
Thank you, Matt Garrahan.